Salve and welcome. Today we are in John chapter 2, taking a look at verse 10, about to finish off this page. This is our rubric, everything we're looking for as we go through this Latin. Let's go ahead and get started. Dicit ei omnis homo primum bonum vinum ponet et cum inebriati fuerint tunc id quod deterius as tu autem servasti bonum vinum usque ad hoc. That's as far as we're going to go today. We want to find our verb first, and that's what we find here as our very second word, which is very nice. I don't know why I said very, that was unnecessary. Moving on, dicit is a word we've seen many times from before. Dico, dicere, dixit, shouldn't be necessary to parse it, so I'm just going to leave that as is. Says. A, we've also seen a bazillion times with dicit. Bazillion is not a real word instantly. To him. I'm not going to parse that again. So direct discourse right here. Omnis homo primum bonum vinum ponet. There's our verb. It is our ending, so that's going to be third person, singular. Pono, ponere, posui. So this is present tense. Active and indicative. Places, or puts. Then we want to find our singular subject, if there's a word for a subject, followed by our direct object. Moving back to the beginning, omnis is in our nominative or genitive form, and homo is in the nominative form, so it looks like these two go together. Nominative, singular, masculine. Since that is singular in form, we translate it every rather than all. Every man, or human. Primum bonum vinum. Now, primum, since it ends in um, could be modifying vinum, our only noun here, or it could be acting as an adverb, since both the adverb and the accusative singular form are identical. So we need to try it as both to see which fits. But first, these two are clearly accusative and singular and neuter. So either it's every man places first good wine, or first, every man places good wine. Now, why we would have first good wine as a thing, I don't know. I'm not aware of whether or not the culture back then had a category: first good wine, second good wine, third good wine. I think it was just good wine, not good wine. So having this as an adverb, I think, at least makes the most sense. I'm going to bracket this and leave this alone. Moving on, and, cum, here we have something interesting. Cum is a preposition normally, or it is something that introduces a special type of subjunctive clause. So if the next word is in the ablative, we know it's a preposition. If it's not, we know there has to be a subjunctive clause going on. Inebriati, this long I here, if this were a participle, could be ablative. But I don't think this is a normal participle. It could be that this is the fourth principal part of something. Actually, it's likely since we got that A right there. But taking a look ahead, we've got fuerint, and erint is either going to be our third person plural future perfect, or it's going to be our third person plural perfect subjunctive. Now, if this were future perfect, we would want to have a nominative and a predicate, or a something telling us location. And take a look ahead. Doesn't look like we have anything like that. We don't have a predicate or a location. We've got time with tunc, which means then. So this as nominative with a perfect subjunctive makes more sense. It'd be third person, plural, perfect, active, subjunctive, nominative plural, and, oh yes, other thing, which I completely missed earlier, sorry, this should have been obvious. Since we don't have an N before that T, this can only be genitive or nominative, so that clearly rules out the future perfect and preposition. Dense to have missed that. So, we've got and cum drunkards. inebriati fuerunt. Oh yeah, this is the fourth principal part of something. Because these two together, that's actually not active. It's passive. Gosh, I'm very dense today. Sorry. So, these two together, we need to figure out what type of clause we've got with this. We've either got a circumstantial clause, since they were inebriated. We've got a temporal clause, when they were inebriated, or that other one that I can't remember, the one that it's definitely not. If I remember, I will put a note at the bottom of the screen about now. Anyway, since we've got tunc, which is telling us time, and we've got primum here, which is also telling us time, temporal makes the most sense. But circumstantial is a close second. And when they are inebriated, then id quod deterius est. Here's our verb. We have to go all the way down here to find it. Est is, of course, third person singular, present tense, active and indicative. Is id quod deterius. Id is from is id, a demonstrative. It is either accusative singular neuter or nominative singular neuter. Since we've got est, nominative makes the most sense. It quod which, from qui quod, again nominative or accusative. So actually, in the greater context, we want to take opponent again, places it, so nominative no, accusative yes, which would then make this the nominative form, neuter. So these things can take a different case from what they are referring to, especially when we have a different clause. We have a linking clause here, and this needed to be a direct object here. Deterius, ius, is of course our nominative or accusative singular neuter, or the adverbial form of this. But since we've got a linking verb and a subject right there, adjective makes most sense. And inferior. Moving on, we enter a new clause, tu autem servasti. ASTI right there is our ending. STI tells us that this is going to be a second person singular. Servo, servare, servavisti is what we would expect, but this is clearly contracted together. And you might expect somebody like this to be slurring his words after a long night, especially if the wine is really that great. But anyway, so don't be fooled by the lack of the VA there. This is still perfect tense. I think we may have seen this form before. Yeah, and I know it appears in Psalm 23 that the same type of contraction, the same person, I think even. Active, indicative. This means kept. Tu is, of course, a nominative singular. You, but have kept, to keep the same tense in there. Then we want a direct object, which we find in bonum venum. Accusative, singular, neuter. Good wine. Usque ad hoc. Usque means until, and ad hoc, of course, means now or to this place. Together until now. And there we go. That's all of our text. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in its own context before we look at it from verse 1. And, oops, he says to him, every man or every human first places good wine, and when they are inebriated, then it which is inferior. But you have kept good wine until now. Yeah, so far so good. Verse 1. On third day, wedding happened in Cana of Galilee, and mother of Jesus was there. But Jesus also was called and his disciples to wedding. And since wine failed, mother of Jesus says to him, capitalized, they do not have wine. And Jesus says to her, what to me and to you is it, woman? My hour is not yet come. His mother says to helpers, whatever he should say or will say to you, do. But there were there 6 stone water jars, placed for the sake of purification of Jews, each holding 2 or 3 measures. Jesus says to them, fill water jars with water. And they filled them up to top. And Jesus says to them, draw now and carry to chief steward. And they carried. But just as steward tasted or drank water having become wine, and was not knowing from whence it might be, but helpers were knowing who had drawn out water. Steward calls groom, and he says to him, every man places first good wine, and when they are inebriated, then it which is inferior. But you have kept good wine until now. And there we go. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you enjoyed this and learned from this as I have. And I hope also that you have a good day. I'm hoping a lot of things today. Wale.
Hey, not asleep yet? That's okay. I've got tons of other equally sleep-inducing videos for you to watch. Check them out.